Good day, everybody, and welcome to the Space Telescope Science Institute. I hope that you and your families are doing well, and that we have a chance to see you again here at STScI sometime soon. Like many of you, most of our staff have been working from home for this past year. We've been fortunate that our work allows us to communicate virtually and to do our work remotely. That isn't to say that everything's gone smoothly and without challenges. There have been plenty of those. But we're proud of the work that we've done this past year and proud to be able to serve the science community during these trying times. And we remain as committed as ever to making sure that we help advance scientific discovery. Those who have been on site this past year have been busy ensuring that the systems that we rely on to work from home have been maintained and improved. We've made upgrades to our power, electrical, heating, and ventilation systems during this time. We've also made some changes to our lobby, which I think you're going to like the next time you're here. Let's go inside and take a look. We're here in the Meller Building lobby now, and as you can see, it looks somewhat different than the last time you saw it. We've taken advantage of the reduced staffing on site to expand the footprint of the lobby and to update some of our processes and procedures for checking people in and badging them through. You can also see that we've equipped the security and registration desks to perform health assessments, contactless temperature checks, and face mask distribution. And of course, there's more room now for social distancing. While pandemic conditions persist, all on-site personnel, staff and visitors alike, are expected to comply with our COVID-19 protocols, including wearing electronic proximity trackers at all times. You just heard one of those. These devices produce visual and audible alerts to let you know if you're too close to someone else per the CDC social distancing guidelines. And they allow our Human Resources Department to perform a rapid contact tracing if someone on site becomes ill or displays COVID-19 symptoms. Karen, come on over and let's show them how these things work. You don't need to get that close. In a couple of seconds, these trackers, which we're both wearing, will start flashing. They'll flash red to let us know that we're too close to each other. And if we don't move apart, they'll start chiming. We know we're too close together, so now we move apart and they stop. Here in our cafe, we've been making good use of this space for activities that aren't easily accommodated elsewhere in this building as a result of social distancing. While not presently being used for food service, we're using the cafe for shift handovers during launch readiness exercises, COVID testing in support of those exercises, and limited meal consumption. You can see that the few tables currently in this room are well spaced and situated within localized airflow zones to minimize the risk of airborne transmission of the virus while people are eating. All of our rooms, including this one, have strict occupancy limits at this time. You'll also notice one of the major infrastructure improvements that I mentioned earlier, a new generator, which you can see behind me here. This generator will allow us to continue JWST operations with minimal impact to other operations and systems in the building in the event of a major power outage. Speaking of JWST operations, let's take a walk upstairs to the JWST Mission Operations Center. It's a quiet day here in the JWST Mission Operations Center, or MOC, but it isn't always like this. We've been busily practicing for launch and commissioning through launch rehearsal exercises and ground segment tests where we communicate with the observatory out in California at Northrop Grumman. These tests hone the technical proficiency of our flight operations team and give us a chance to test the communications channels with the observatory through the Deep Space Network. They also give us a chance to practice anomaly resolution and to plan for contingencies that might arise during launch and commissioning. While some of this testing requires only a dozen or so people, the larger exercises may involve hundreds of people during the course of the week, at all hours of the day. We successfully conducted one such exercise with more than 200 personnel last month, and have another planned for May. To accommodate so many people safely during the pandemic, including those STScI staff who support the logistics of the exercises, we've expanded the footprint of the MOC by about a factor of 2, using existing office space within the building. This expanded MOC has the same functionality available in the MOC and is access restricted to MOC personnel. All of this was quite a challenge for our IT, facilities, and flight operations teams, but they had the facility up and running in time for a major rehearsal this past fall when COVID cases were rising rapidly in this area. The COVID protocols in place for the mock are designed to protect the health and safety of all on-site personnel, as well as ensure mission success. While we don't have time today to describe all of those protocols, rest assured that we're going to be prepared to launch and commission JWST regardless of whatever pandemic conditions exist at the time. We'll have a chance in just a bit to describe some new initiatives we're excited about, and I hope you will be too. But I wanted to take a few minutes to highlight a few notable achievements of the past year and summarize the status of our missions. For me, one of the highlights has certainly been the selection of the Hubble Cycle 28 and Webb Cycle 1 observing programs. Both dual anonymous peer reviews were run entirely virtually for the first time, and by all accounts, these reviews went smoothly, thanks to the hundreds of dedicated community members who put their time and energy into recommending superb science programs, and to our expert staff who facilitated these efforts. I would particularly like to thank the TAC chairs, Amy Simon, who chaired the HST TAC, and Mike Heraclius and Monica Tosi, who co-chaired the JWST TAC. They did a great job of leading the reviewers through this process. And I look forward to the next HST TAC, which will occur in June. So we're going to have a chance to do this all again very shortly. Despite the pandemic and some modest loss of efficiency, work on our missions has progressed well this past year. And all of our mission resources, including our archives, have been available to the community throughout. Hubble continues to produce discoveries on a daily basis. Keeping Hubble data and grants flowing to the community has been a top priority for our teams, as we know that many depend on this support professionally and financially. In 2020, the number of papers based on Hubble data dropped slightly, but was still the third highest yearly total ever at 923. Recent flight software issues aside, which caused a bit of a hiccup in operations and delay in scheduling some observations this last month, Hubble appears well poised to continue its exploration of the universe for the foreseeable future. The Hubble team can now add remote anomaly resolution to its operations repertoire. It won't be long before Hubble and Webb are operating together. After launch this year, Webb will undergo a 6-month commissioning period during which the observatory will be deployed into its full flight configuration and the instruments prepared for scientific use. Most of the deployments will occur within the first month after launch, but it will take some additional time for Webb to passively cool to its 50-degree Kelvin operating temperature and the performance of the instruments to be characterized. After that occurs, the Cycle 1 science program begins, and not long thereafter, the call for Cycle 2 proposals will be announced with a due date in late December 2022. And while all of this is happening, we have been and will be busily preparing for science with the Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope. As the Science Operations Center for Roman, the Institute is developing the ground system and archive for the observatory, preparing for the planning and scheduling of observations, and defining the calibration and data processing pipeline for the Roman's Wide Field Imager. As a community scientific interface, we're looking forward to working with you and others to make sure that this great observatory lives up to its full potential and the legacy of its namesake. In the immediate future, next week, we'll virtually host our annual Spring Symposium, one of the science highlights of our year. This year's symposium, towards the comprehensive characterization of exoplanets, science at the interface of multiple measurement techniques, should be really interesting given recent advances in the field and new exoplanet observation capabilities with Webb. With more than 500 people registered and additional streaming on Facebook Live, it will be our largest and most widely attended workshop or conference we've ever hosted, so please join us. Finally, I wanted to note that our research staff has continued to produce some truly awesome science results in collaboration with you and others in the community. And while the overall scientific productivity of our staff remained high this year, there are some for whom the pandemic has proven to be extra challenging. We're looking at this closely and doing what we can to support all of our staff through these unusual times. As pandemic conditions ease, it will be possible for more of our staff to return to the office. That will occur gradually in the coming months and will be coordinated with the Webb launch activities later this year. As we do so, we'll be looking at new and better ways of working, taking advantage of all that we've learned this past year. And while virtual communications with the community will continue to be the norm for a while, we're definitely looking forward to your next visit to the Institute. We hope to see you soon.